Hello everyone and welcome to One Run Academy. In this video, we are going to discuss the third group of questions starting from number 21 up to number 30. So let's waste no time and start with question number 21. So a monitor has three interchangeable refresh rates which are 60 Hz, 90 Hz and 120 Hz. The refresh rate is governed by these rules. 1. Switching from one refresh rate to another is instantaneous, meaning that it will go from 60 to 90 without passing on any other refresh rate in between. 2. The transistors are designed to run these three refresh rates only. Operating the monitor on any other refresh rate will result in slow deterioration in the transistors and will eventually cause hardware failure. What's the minimum number of values required to verify this monitor using boundary value analysis? And our options are 3, 6, 9, and 12. So in this specific example, any refresh rate is considered a whole partition itself. So as you know, a partition is considered a partition when all the values inside this partition has the same outcome. So if we take 90 Hz partition as an example, you can see that the valid partition is one value, only 90, while 91 and above belong to the invalid partition. The same goes with 89. 89 and below, these fall under the other invalid partition. So if we want to test 90 Hz, we will need three values, the 90, 91, and 89. So if we apply this concept for the other three frequencies, 60, 90, and 120, we will find that we will need 9 test cases to fully cover all the boundaries of the monitor. Now let's move to question number 22. It says, a course for IT fresh graduates requires applicants to take a quiz to determine their knowledge base, and then they can be assigned to one of these four classes. 1. Advanced level with 30% discount. This is for unemployed students who passed the quiz. 2. Advanced level with no discount. This is for employed students who passed the quiz. Third is entry level with 30% discount. This is for unemployed students who failed to pass the quiz. And finally, entry level with no discount. This is for employed students who failed to pass the quiz. Okay, the quiz structure is 60 multiple choice questions. Each question is 1 mark, and to pass the exam, you must score 75% or higher. Then we are provided with a table of 3 test cases. We are required to figure out the minimum number of additional test cases required to achieve 100% decision table coverage. So our options to choose from are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So to answer this question, we must first calculate the exam's passing score, which is 40 marks. 75% out of 60 marks, this is 40 marks. If you notice, test case 1 and test case 2 both are 40 marks and above. So these two test cases have the same outcomes: pass, pass, and employ true, employ true. So we can combine these three test cases, or just combine test case 1 and test case 2 into a single test case. And let's omit test case 1. So we have test case 2, which resembles these two test cases, and test case 3. Now let's draw the entire table, which will have 4 outcomes. And since we have only 2 test cases, the remaining is 2. So the correct answer in this case is option B, because we will need only 2 extra test cases to achieve 100% decision table coverage. Now for question number 23, we are provided with a state transition diagram of a video controller plus a table of 3 test cases. We are required to determine the coverage achieved by these test cases, and our options are 25%, 33%, 50%, and 66%. So by looking at the state transition diagram, we can find 6 transitions over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So total of 6 test cases required to cover every transition. So our table has 3 test cases, 1, 2, and 3. So you would think we are covering 50%. However, test case 2 is invalid because you cannot go from play game to end level without passing on print tickets. So actually this table contains only 2 valid test cases, which are number 1 and number 3. So the coverage in this case is 2 over 6, which is 33% transition coverage. So the correct answer would be option B. Alright, so let's take a look at question number 24, which says you have a code block that needs to be tested. The code has 5 statements and there are 4 test cases ready at the moment. These test cases cover only the first 4 statements, and the 5th statement has no test case yet to cover it. You ran the test cases and 3 of them passed and 1 failed. What's the percentage of the statement coverage for this code block? So the options we are provided with are 40%, 50%, 60%, and 80%. So of course there is a trick here. The answer, in my opinion, can be one of these two. You may say it's 3 over 5, or you would go with 4 over 5. The point where some can disagree is the fail test case, which is the test case number 4. But you must be aware that the fail test case actually covers the statement. When a test case fails, it implies a defect in the code statement, and when fixed, running the same test case for this statement will pass. So in this situation, we have test cases that cover 4 statements out of 5. Whether these test cases pass or fail, they achieve 4 code statements out of 5. Therefore, the coverage is 4 out of 5, which is 80%. And the option D is the correct answer for this question. Okay, so question number 25 is about finding which of the following options represent a drawback or a disadvantage of branch coverage testing. And as usual, 4 options are provided. A. Poor software implementation will result in poor branch testing detection of defects. B. High cost due to the need to implement statement testing alongside branch testing. C. Branch testing usage is limited to only code. And D. Branch testing is limited only to dynamic code testing. So let's take a look at the options, starting with option A. And yes, this is one of the drawbacks of the branch testing technique, because the test itself depends on how accurate requirements are implemented into code. Any omission, misimplementation, or poor understanding of the requirements may result in branch testing not being able to detect possible defects. And that makes option A a very good candidate to be the correct answer. Option B is obviously not correct because you don't need to spend extra budget on implementing statement testing in case you already implemented branch testing. Remember that 100% branch coverage means 100% statement coverage. Moving to option C, it's not correct because branch testing can be used for other non-code work products, for example, pseudocode, control flow graphs, and so on. And lastly, option D is also not correct. Branch testing can be used in static testing to detect broken code links or dead code. Plus, branch testing can be used statically in code dry runs. So yes, I guess option A resembles the best option here. So we have reached halfway through this lecture, and before we continue, I want to ask you to give this video a like. You can further help us if you share our videos among your personal network. So moving toward question number 26, which says, a tester is making a list of possible defects he might encounter while testing a pre-release version of a mobile game. The list items are based on the tester's experience from previous projects he worked on. What's the testing technique the tester is about to perform? So the options are statement testing, checklist-based testing, error guessing testing, and finally decision table testing. So to answer this question, you have to comprehend what the question is talking about, and that would be fault attack. So let's read the part of the syllabus discussing fault attack. This technique requires the tester to create or acquire a list of possible errors, defects, and failures, and to design tests that will identify defects associated with the errors, expose the defects, or cause the failures. These lists can be built based on experience, defects and failures data, or common knowledge about why software may fail. So at this point, things are getting pretty much easier. You need to recall that fault attack is a methodical approach of implementing error guessing. Hence, the correct answer is option C, which is error guessing. So let's head to question number 27. So you are attending an interview for a tester position. The interviewer handed you a beta version app installed on a mobile device. Also, he handed you this piece of paper. What is the best test technique to be used in this situation? And the options are A. Exploratory testing, B. Decision table technique, C. Error guessing technique, and D. Checklist based technique. Okay, so let's see what we can extract from this question. So first, the interviewer wants to know the level of experience of the tester. Second, the application is in beta version, so defects are highly expected to be found. Third, time pressure is present because we only have 30 minutes to complete. You can see the 30 minutes in the time available over here. And number 4, you can see that the test objectives say test creating custom workout plans. So the mobile app is something like an exercise planner. Maybe the user can select some exercises and group them to be used as a workout routine. So it makes sense to use exploratory testing in this situation. First, time pressure and lack of information about the test objective advocate the usage of exploratory testing. Furthermore, this piece of paper looks like a minimized test charter. One primary use of test charters is in exploratory testing. So option A, which is exploratory testing, is the answer we are looking for regarding question 27. Now let's encounter question number 28 very quickly, which says the letter I in the INVEST principle of collaborative user story writing stands for independent. Which of the following statements best represent the word independent? So our options to choose from are A. A user story is to be written independently, so the tester writes it without referring to other stakeholders' point of view. B. A user story should be independently reviewed. While the team collaboratively writes it, only the business representative is allowed to review it. C. A user story should be independent from other user stories. The developer or the tester can pick any user story and start implementing or testing directly. Finally, option D, the letter I does not refer to the word independent anyway. So a pretty easy one here. It's option C that is the correct answer. Having independent user story is very powerful as the development team is not constrained by other undeveloped user stories. So whenever a user story developed independently, they can be linked together in the final product. So we are almost done, and let's head up to question number 29, which seems like a very long one. And the question says, consider the following three steps of development process adopting ATDD, which stands for Acceptance Test Driven Development. So we are describing in the question what's happening inside this process. And we have three major steps. The first step is the user story writing along with its acceptance criteria. So let's read the user story together. As a premium YouTube user, I want to download videos on my mobile phone so that I can watch them offline if I don't have an internet connection. And the acceptance criteria for this user story are: 1. The user can download videos when they have an internet connection on his phone. 2. The user can see a pop-up message showing the downloaded progress. 3. The user can enter his premium library and see the list of downloaded videos. And 4. The user can play the downloaded videos even if he don't have an internet connection. So the second step after user story writing is the test case writing. So we have two test cases simplified as test case 1, open YouTube, select a video and choose to download. Test case 2 is open YouTube and open the user's library. This is to see, of course, the list of downloaded videos. So the third step is developers will start implementing the user story. So the question says, which of the following options mostly represents an issue in this setup? And the options to choose from are: A. The user story is lacking the goal to be accomplished. B. The acceptance criteria are not in the given when then format. And C. The test cases do not fully cover the acceptance criteria. And D. The code implementation step should come before writing test cases. So let's discuss these options together. So option A is not correct because the goal to be accomplished is already fulfilled. It's over here. I want to download videos on my mobile phone. This is the goal to be accomplished. So option B is also not correct because the acceptance criteria can be written in the format of given when then, this is correct, but also it can be written in the form of bullets, like this one, or even on any other format that is agreed by the team. So moving to option C mentioned that the test cases did not fully cover the acceptance criteria, which is correct. There should be a test case that covers the ability to play the downloaded videos when there is no internet connection. But there should be a third test case that evaluates the ability of playback of the downloaded videos even if there is no internet connection. So we can say like test case number 3, test steps, while the user is in the library and while the phone is in the flight mode, and when the user taps on any downloaded video, the expected result is the video plays normally, with the users able to perform video control functions such as playback, pause, fast forward, or backwards. So lastly, option D, obviously not correct, as the code implementation normally comes after writing test cases in acceptance test driven development. So we will take option C as the correct answer for question number 29. And finally, the last question for today is question number 30. In this question, you are provided with several activities and asked to determine which these activities relate to release planning and which relates to iteration planning. These activities are: 1. User story risk analysis, defining product backlog. 3. Determining the test approach. 4. Estimating test efforts for testing tasks. 5. Identifying functional and non-functional testing. 6. Writing user stories and acceptance criteria. So to answer this question, you should be able to distinguish between the activities that take place in release and or iteration planning. So we will read together the part of the syllabus explaining this together. So release planning looks ahead to the release of a product and defines and redefines the product backlog, which is activity number 2, and may involve refining larger user stories into a set of smaller user stories. It also serves as the basis for the test approach and test plan across all iterations. Testers involved in release planning participate in writing testable user stories and acceptance criteria. This is number 6. Participate in project and risk analysis, estimate test efforts associated with user stories, determine the test approach, which is activity number 3, and plan the testing for the release. Now, for iteration planning, it looks ahead to the end of a single iteration and is concerned with the iteration backlog. Testers involved in iteration planning participate in detailed risk analysis of user story, which is activity number 1. Determine the testability of user stories, break down user stories into tasks, estimate test efforts for all tasks, which is number 4, and identify and refine functional and non-functional aspects of the test object, and this should be activity number 5. So in this case, the correct answer would be option A. Alright, all done for this video. I hope everything is clear and well understood. Do not forget to follow us on our social media pages and share this video among your social network. In the next video, we will discuss the last 10 questions of this exam. So until then, take care and I'll see you on the next one.